Even Boomer likes the kid. Jesus criminy. Without further ado, the co-host, Birds365, my friend, Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Boomer was good, right?
Boomer was great, man. Boomer was really good. I love listening to you guys go back and forth, but yeah, he was great. A lot of praise for Jalen Hurts.
Who? Oh, yes. There was a lot of praise. By the way, before we started off, 1 year anniversary today of Saquon Barkley signing with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Huge. Maybe the biggest free agent signing. I don't want to say ever. I don't know if you could say ever, but up
Bigger
there.
than AJ?
Well, AJ was a trade.
Okay, biggest acquisition.
I mean, I don't know. How do you gauge it? Because they won a Super Bowl with Saquon. They only got 2 of those things. So it's up there. It's got to be up there. Top 5, right? Got to be top 5. Top 3, maybe.
Who's the most important person on the team, AJ or Barkley?
Last year?
I don't care. Right now.
Probably Barkley. Their running team.
Barkley. Okay. Barkley. So.
How's it feel you're losing today? The chat's got you beat today.
Nobody's beating me ever.
1-1. Yeah, it's a 1-1 week.
Never. No one's ever beating me. I'm undefeated. I am the heavyweight.
I got Prince. I got Flex. I got Quiz.
Heavyweight champion of the world. Because you bark shit doesn't mean
Prince,
you're right.
Quiz, Flex, and Sue are up 1.
No, 1. They're the worst takes.
It's a 1-1 week, gentlemen. How will we finish?
What did they win? What? My
admiration?
My admiration? Jesus. Try to have a take that's good.
Dude, they're occupying headspace up there, man.
Oh, that's what they're doing. You can't get to me, kid. What are you trying here? Big Sills don't roll down that lane.
They can get to you. You love these people. You say you don't, but you do love these people. And then you pull out I don't know you. I don't care about you. Oh, bullshit. Oh, bullshit. I'm not buying it.
Maybe that was bullshit. Okay, maybe that was bullshit.
Yeah. So I'm giving Prince the leader in the clubhouse for the win.
He's not the leader in
I mean, you couldn't wait to say he had a super chat when Boomer got off. You saw that sucker. You were thinking about it for the last 20 minutes of the interview. And then you brought it up right at the end of it.
Never. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Prince, you are not Switty for the week, okay? You've earned a couple days of Prince Swayze again.
I don't even know who he is. Whatever. So here, that just fuels big. Hold on here. Bad signal's out. All right. So
I got my bad signal. You want me to pull it out?
Let me ask you something here, Junior. Since February 10th, day after the Super Bowl, what has Howie done in 2025? I say he's taken 2025 off. What's he done?
Well, Goddard coming back is the first,
I
would say, real 2025 move. But you know, building when you're a GM, you have a different job than a coach in terms of you have to build for the now, but you cannot completely turn a blind eye to the future because the Eagles have been down that road before and it bit them in the ass. So while it's a balancing act, and you could maybe argue he went to one way or the other way, but it is a balancing act of how do we put the best team on the field today, and how do we create a team and a roster and an organization that's built to win for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think they've done a pretty good job at that. Now, obviously, there are more things in the other column this year because you lost so many of the guys on defense, and all the moves that you made outside of signing Zach Bond and bringing Goddard back are for the future, right? Your draft picks are for the future. You know, the replacements that you brought in for the defense this year are largely cheap free agents that are tryouts. Basically, they're basically dart throws. So I think Howie's done a decent job, but I'm definitely not as far as I'm definitely not in the camp of he's letting 25 go. I just think we've created a little bit of a tough scenario with how well we've drafted that player contracts are an issue right now, and there's a lot more issues coming in the future. This isn't the last year of this. I mean, what are we going to do with Quignon and Cooper when they're up at the same time? So all those things are still coming.
But here, I would say this. Don't you feel that there's a better chance that you win in the Super Bowl in 26 and 25? I do.
Yeah, but to be fair, we did say that exact phrase last year. Remember, the defense was built for 25 2 years ago.
Did you really lose that many players a year ago?
Well, no, but we did talk about Quignon and Cooper were going to take a year. Nolan Smith still hadn't showed anything. We took Jalen Carter was still we talked about a delay before the defense was ready. So a lot went our way. I'm not saying it did. It did go our way.
You're playing a lot into repeating a lot of what success happened a year ago into this year by giving blind faith. And you think because I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying because they proved it a year ago, you're basically giving the front office, the coaching staff, and the roster itself, you're giving it blind faith that and a lot of things. Well, it is blind faith. You don't know. I don't know.
Blind faith on 4 spots out of 11.
It's not 4 spots.
Well, it is.
How is there's roster spots everywhere open. Your backup LB, your swing.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Corner,
your backup LBs are important.
Corner, your one starting safety. You're unsure at linebacker. Are you really going to go into camp with those 4 edge rushers or 5 edge rushers? I don't know that yet.
I'm not buying those.
Guard is unsettled. I mean, there's a ton of job openings.
Yeah, I'm not buying some of those problems as big as you are.
Okay, again, that's blind faith.
It's not blind faith.
Bro, are people going to fight for the corner job? Yes.
Yeah, let me ask you something.
Well, no, let me finish. Are people going to fight for the corner job? Is there going to be a battle for the corner spot?
Yes.
Is there going to be a battle at safety?
Yes.
Are you solidified right now on May 13th, right now, on what you're going to do on the off backer next to Bond?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to take Burks' role to be that guy?
Okay, that's one I'm not worried about, though.
Okay. Bro.
I mean, I'm not going to – Sills, your team isn't built with backups. I understand they're important piece, but –
who has that role of Isaiah Rodgers?
But do you seriously think the role of Isaiah Rodgers is going to dictate whether we're a Super Bowl contending team or not?
I think that all played into it. I do. I don't think because you're microing it. I'm looking at the whole group on what you accomplished last year as a unit.
Yeah, but those guys don't make up a big percentage of the pie.
You're cuttering it. You're slicing.
No. Even if you look at it from a macro, I don't think that the backup players that are always going to be interchangeable in every team, because that's the nature of the NFL. There's going to be turnover. Those aren't the guys that you build your teams around.
Blind faith, you're going to replace those guys.
Sills, blind faith.
How is that not blind faith?
Because again, I said 4 positions out of 11, maybe. I don't have blind faith on Jalen Carter. I don't have blind faith on Quignon or Cooper or Reed or Bond.
I'm not going to the certainties. I have not mentioned the certainties. I'm going to the ones that you have question marks on. You've got question marks on half the secondary. You've got question marks still. Again, the edge is the least of my concerns.
Yeah, but why are you putting so much stock on backup players?
Because backup players played a role in your Super Bowl win.
They do every year. But they're not the trust. They're not the trust of whether your team can get better or worse.
But every team doesn't win the Super Bowl.
That's like saying our offense would get worse because we don't have Kenny Gainwell coming back.
My God, oh my! Who's taking Isaiah Rodgers' role? Seriously.
My point isn't that we have a sure thing to take Isaiah's role. My point is that player, that position is inconsequential to the big picture of the defense.
So you think when Slay went out and Isaiah going in and him getting an $8 million deal in Minnesota, NFL teams looked at that and said, he's a nothing player.
That's not what I said. He was a backup. Was he a backup in Philly or not?
Yes, it is, because that guy just got a contract to start in Minnesota.
So
yes, it is.
Your defense is built on the core players that you identify. Every one of those players is coming back. You could point and say, you have blind faith at the edge. I agree. You have blind faith at corner. I agree. And you have blind faith at safety. I agree. I don't agree at defensive tackle because I've seen it from Moro Ijeoma.
You have 2 core players right now with certainty. Maybe
You're
not
returning
even.
7 starters.
Bro, unbelievable. Half your secondary's gone, and half that linebacking core's got question marks.
Sills, you got a corner and a safety, and you're acting like the
Bro,
entire
you're out of
defense
your
is gone.
mind. Okay, well, I completely disagree with you.
All right, well, you asked me for my take. I tried to give you my take, and you won't let me get it out.
Let me ask you this one then. All right. Here, let's go here. I gave you a comp of a guy who had an 810 win percentage. His name was George Seifert, and he won a Super Bowl. He was 52-12.
Yeah, that's insane.
First 4 years. You want to hear something else? He was in 8 years. He was 98-30. And if you put his 2 Super Bowls and his 10-5 record, George Seifert won 108 games and lost 35 games. And they fired him. Look at that record. Not even Nick Sirianni has that record. And they looked at him as a guy who benefited from being in an organization that was set up by Bill Walsh, by Carmen Policy, and by the owner. They thought he was interchangeable. As a matter of fact, here's what I'll give George credit on. The 49ers have never been successful until this recent run here with Kyle.
True.
Okay?
It's true.
If you think about it, after they fired him, they went through the Mariucci's of the world. They went through all these other guys, and they bombed. So
and they still haven't gotten over the hump since. When's the last time they won the Super Bowl?
George Seifert's the last coach to win a Super Bowl for the Niners.
And what year did he win? Do you remember? I know he was a little obviously.
I got it up here.
He's got what? 2 of them, right? Two rings.
2. He won one in '89 and he won one in '94.
There you go. I mean, that's Dallas Cowboys level long.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So it's a good point by you, but I don't view Sirianni like Seifert, but I could see I see the comp that you're making much easier in that Nick Sirianni isn't the guy who runs the entire show like many of the greatest coaches. When you look up the 10 greatest NFL coaches of all time, many of those guys ran the show. Sirianni certainly doesn't fall in that category. I wouldn't go as far as to say Seifert. Now, I'm a younger fan. I don't know how Seifert is perceived. I mean, you read those numbers to me, and I'm like, how is this guy not looked at as a good coach? 52-10 or 52-12.
Hey, that's a great take by you, and I'll tell you what because if you just look at 52-12 and you go, Jesus criminy, I don't really know anything about the guy. Well, a lot of people don't know anything about us. How many times you watch an analyst talk about the Eagles when they're talking about the great Brian Johnson? You're like, that guy sucks as an OC. What are you talking about? And you're sitting there going, that guy's nuts. So kind of more so than anything, I think I look at him and I compare him to George Seifert. That, again, you know what he is? He's a guy that did exactly what the Bartolo in Policy wanted to have happen. He won a ton of games. He's won more games than Nick. He's won more Super Bowls to the point. Now, obviously, first 4 years.
I get where you're going with this. I mean, I don't hate the comp. I mean, look, George Seifert's got 2 rings. If that means Sirianni's going to get another ring, I'll take it, man.
And he'll never go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I guess Seifert's not in the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, who's the other coaches that have won 2 that aren't in the Hall of Fame? Tom Coughlin? Is that it?
That's
I can think of Tom Coughlin, right? Tom Coughlin's got 2.
Tom Coughlin will be in.
You think he'll get in?
I think he is in.
I don't know. Is he in, Tom Coughlin?
I believe Tom Coughlin got in. Maybe I'm wrong.
What about Mike Shanahan? Is he in?
Mike Shanahan? Nope. He's not in yet.
So Seifert's one of those guys. I mean, look, I don't hate the comp that much because it's not unfair to say that Nick doesn't run the show like other coaches do. But where I'll push back is, you bring up the point of how the Niners have never won. I don't think you can take a player or coach or anything and take them out and just say, you're going to have the same level of success with a new at whatever position, at quarterback, at head coach. It's going to be different, right? I mean,
any job,
right? Most jobs, which kind of goes back to the argument we just had, a second ago. But it's hard for me to say Nick Sirianni does nothing. Now, I told you pre-show I had another comp for Sirianni. Okay. It's not a historic comp. It's not like this where you compare him to somebody that's won a lot of games. You always ask, though, what does Nick do? And I look at the comp and I say, he's a super Dan Campbell. He's Dan Campbell with all the success. Dan Campbell's got a great wide receiver, great offensive line, great multiple wide receivers, great running backs, good quarterback in Jared Goff. He had a great defense now he had the Detroit Lions. That's not the Eagles, obviously. Sirianni got a better organization, a better shake at that. But Sirianni is kind of like what does can't you say the same thing, right, about Campbell? Like, what do you do, right? Like, you don't call the play. Are you just the culture guy? Brad Holmes is obviously managing the whole roster. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I look at Sirianni and I'm like, hey,
I probably give Dan blind faith more because he's a former player. So I'm prejudiced.
Yeah.
So I'm prejudiced. So I'm prejudiced towards Dan more than I am Nick, because you know why? He speaks my language more.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? He kind of, I understand where he's coming from. So that's a bias.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean,
but I would say Nick's better right now than Dan.
Yeah, and I prefer Campbell from a style perspective, but you can't argue with what Nick's been able to do. And look, it's just, I think this is a similar conversation to Jalen Hurts, where people are like, Jalen's not that talented. The team is incredible, and that's why they win. Yet I look at all the players that everybody says is so much more talented than Jalen, and none of them have won. So I'm like, I mean, what the fuck is the difference? I mean, you had this argument earlier. You're like, find me a quarterback outside of, Brady and Montana. I'm like, well, what is Josh Allen? What about Joe Burrow? What about Lamar Jackson? What about all these other players? Dak Prescott. What about all these other players that don't have rings right now that are great talents? Now it's a different convo with the coach, but I do think it's at least applicable. Like, I don't think you could just replace Nick and say, oh, the team is so good, we're going to get the same result. I don't think it works that easy. I think there's a human element that matters. And, maybe the George Seifert comp is good because they haven't won shit since he left.
No, and you know what? And I kind of like shit on my own comparison here a little bit, because you're right. Because if I'm thinking about it, you know what the one thing George did do? He did everything that Bill Walsh did. And when they tried to go in a different direction with other coaches, they have not been able to get back to that game since Kyle, and they still haven't gotten over the hump. Maybe if Nick was to be replaced, maybe there'd be another guy that would try to change culture. That's the one thing. Do you think his greatest strength is that he refuses to change the culture that has been set? And that's the one thing Seifert refused to do, was change the culture that Walsh had set. And when you start hiring other people, they want their own imprint on something, like Doug and some of these other guys. That's where you get the bad rub. So again, there is strengths to Nick here. That's a strength.
I think Nick manages only the on-field. Like, to your point, the macro culture, which is organization, which is top down. I'm not talking about coaches and players only. I'm talking top down. Nick has no say on that. And you're right about that, right? Nick hasn't influenced that at all. Where I do think Nick influences is he set up the core tenets and the things that the team operates from coach down. I think he controls that culture, and he's done a good job at that. But yeah, it's not as big as somebody that comes in and, manages the entire organization. I agree with that. But again, I think those are going out the door a little more, Sileo. Remember, back in Seifert's day, back in, even some of the greatest coaches of all time, back in Jimmy's day, how much were teams worth back then? And I know this isn't a perfect example, but just to draw a comp, teams are worth $10 billion now.
Oh, they're corporations now. They weren't then.
Right. These aren't just sports teams anymore, man, where Bill Belichick comes in. He's like, all right, we're doing this, this, and this. And as long as we win games, the whole business works. Like, this is way different now. The organization is split from the coach and the on-field department, and Nick is put in charge of on-field. You're the head coach of the football team. That's it. I don't need you to do player evaluation from draft none of that shit. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Let me tell you what you've just done here. I had never thought about this. Owners back used to own these teams. Owning an NFL team, some of these guys had to be talked into buying them because they were so not a business. They were just like a fun toy to have. Like the Hilton guy who owned the Chargers. He didn't really want to own it, but they came in, and the guy who owned the Chiefs, Hunt, came in and said, would you buy it? So he buys the Chargers for $25,000. You understand that?
Right.
A franchise in the AFL back in the days when they started was $25,000 the fee. Now, you know what? The teams are worth $8 billion.
It's crazy.
So now you have to have a different guy in there running these businesses compared to what you had years past when these were just considered an owner's toy. Now they're the owners, the way they make money. Look at what Josh Harris is doing. Josh Harris is getting an arena built downtown Philly. He's getting one built at the RFK site in D.C. That's economic wealth that's never been seen before in the NFL. So you're right, Zander. It's a different style of guy.
Yeah, and look,
20 years ago.
Yeah, and here's a perfect example, right? Like Shady Westbrook, and Shady, I love you, brother, and I appreciate this comment because it brings up a good topic or good part of this conversation. Shady says Dallas is the only corporation that sells a shitty product and doesn't lose customers. Which, Shady, while you are correct, it does highlight what I just said about this is way more than a football operation nowadays. It's no longer
selling the shield.
Yes, it's no longer just football. And that's where I think we've gotten to this point where these companies are so big, these teams are so big that, you're going to start to see less and less coaches that manage everything because it's just too big. Back when Dallas was quantified on success, it was Jimmy Johnson, man. They were winning Super Bowls. They won 3 of them in the 90s. Now they don't win and they don't lose customers. Why? Because they got TV shows and they have Netflix and they have an awesome stadium and all the things that aren't football related. Dallas still front page news every year, every week of the year on every sports channel. I mean, it's way different the world that we live in today, but I do understand where you're coming from with Nick.
Nick. But let me tell you, man, you're right. It's big business now, dude. I mean,
yeah, it is, Jack.
Dude, you just can't have a dude in there anymore. You got to have a guy who runs and understands the levels of the business. Get this. Do you think really Jimmy Johnson gave a shit about the marketing of the team or how?
No. And he didn't have to, dude.
Nick's got to worry about the imaging of the team and how it looks. That's why the owner's so concerned about how the organization looks. All right, let me get to some of these games. So here's my takeaway. God, is this great for TV? Holy cow, the Eagles. Get this. So September 4th. Let me ask you this. Is the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, is that the biggest rivalry in sports?
Dallas Cowboys and Eagles? Nah, I don't think so.
I'll tell you what. Well, here, let me hook you up on something. Top 100 television shows in all of 2024, all the way down to 39 when they had the presidential debates. Every single show, all the way down to 12, and then the 96 Oscars was 13. Then it went Eagles, Bucks, wild card. Then it went World Series, the Grammys, Sunday Night Football, Eagles. Then the Cowboys and Steelers. Then the opening ceremonies, all sports, all NFL. That number that the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to produce on September 4th, I guarantee you'll be north of 45 to 50 million people watching that thing. Now, tell me what a bigger rivalry in sports is than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know the Eagles and the Cowboys are up there. You want to know something from a lot of Eagle fans will disagree with me on, but I felt this way, and it's changed in the last couple of years because the Eagles have been so good. But you know what's something that's always bothered me about the Dallas Eagles rivalry is that we in Philly cared more about it than they did. Like the Dallas Cowboys never acted like. Now it's changed because we've gotten so good and now we've gotten major success. But before that, yeah, we used to every Cowboy game used to be a freaking, Super Bowl for us in terms of how much the fans cared about it. And I never felt like that was reciprocated. So for me as a fan, I don't know, maybe it's the pride in me. I was like, if you don't fucking care about us, I don't care. I don't give a shit about you either, but maybe that's just a me thing. That might be more of a me thing than anything.
Does Philly have a complex?
What's that?
Do you think Philly fans have a complex?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're certainly a type of way. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, with New York, I think it's New York and Dallas that you have a complex with. It's not a bad thing. Hey,
Well,
New York, the
I
big
don't think we
city.
were as successful, Sills. I mean, look at the we
Oh,
still
you
at
are
least
more successful. No,
no. I mean, until the last 10
you
years,
are.
we had we still have the least amount of Super Bowls in the NFC East. This is why back when we won a couple of months ago, I'm like, I want more, man. I don't want to settle right here because I want to take the power in our negotiations. I want to take the power in our fandom debates and all of those things. So we still got a long way to go, but yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Super Bowls changed it a lot for us, but we were fighting an uphill battle in terms of, you could always say, hey, Dallas, you hate us. But at the end of the day, they were like, bro, we're the big dog. Yeah, we're the big dog. Who the hell are you? You guys don't even have a Super Bowl. So it definitely changed recently, though. It's
So
definitely
you
getting
think
bigger.
the Super Bowls have had that kind of impact now where all of a sudden maybe Dallas, if I were Dallas, I would completely give a shit. One, you're in my division. I would of all the teams in the league right now, my major focus is Philly because not only before did you just have the noxious fans, now you have the record to go behind it, and now you've added 2 Super Bowl titles. How much have those Super Bowl titles changed on how you think people see you?
Huge. Now, for the first time in my life, I actually feel like there's real animosity more so coming from Cowboys fans now. Because now it's like
that's why I say it's the biggest rivalry,
right?
Which
it might be. It might be getting to that point now. I think it's top 3 in the NFL. I mean, remember, you got to go Ravens Steelers, right? Is that the best rivalry in football? I mean, Ravens Steelers is just
the oldest is Bears Packers.
Bears Packers is great too. Obviously NFC North. I mean, that's awesome. But I think because of the teams, the Eagles and the Cowboys have probably overtaken that. I mean, the Bears haven't been good in how long?
Ever.
I mean, it's so
since the 80s. Or since they won that Super
probably
Bowl.
A couple others. I mean, I don't know. Maybe from an NFL standpoint, and because it's the biggest sport, that would make it the biggest. I see what you're going. I see where you're going.
How about this? In basketball, what do you think there's any rivalry that makes you go to the television set? Is it Knicks and Celtics? Because I've been watching that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really. I mean, it would be.
I
think if you're going, I mean, what are we going off of? The past decade, since
I'm
2000?
just right. No,
since
right.
2000,
Right now. How do you feel about? Is there a rivalry in baseball? Yankees, Dodgers?
Not really.
Okay. So is there something in baseball? I mean,
Yankees, Red Sox was always great.
Red Sox.
But that was early 2000s, wasn't it? I mean,
shit, that was 70s and
right. But I mean, ended after the early 2000s. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's some great college ones.
But in college,
Alabama, Auburn. Are you kidding me? Ohio State, Michigan's awesome. Ohio State, Michigan's one of the best.
Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah. I don't think the SC.
Duke, UNC basketball. That used to be great when I was a kid, man.
Yep.
Duke, UNC basketball was great.
I still think Duke and UNC is still up there because I
agree. Anthony had that one. Good one.
I will, but to me, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, to me, are the biggest rivalry in all of sports now, is because the Eagles have punched their ticket with Super Bowl wins, and now the Cowboys can no longer say this. Hey, here's the Cowboy fans talking to Eagles. Hey, Eagle fan, you'll never beat us. And here's Eagle fans. You'll never beat us. I mean, you talk in the present. Cowboys are now forced to talk in the past.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned Ravens Steelers, but where you might be right on this is the Steelers or the Eagles and the Cowboys have been a better team than both of those. Now, Ravens have been really good, but they haven't gotten over the hump. I mean, I know they won with Joe Flacco. What was that, 2012 or something? I forget when they won with him, but
when they beat the Niners.
Yeah. So the Eagles and Cowboys, and because the NFL is the biggest sport by a country mile, you would maybe be right about, being the biggest one of all. So probably Packers, Bears, Bills, Chiefs has become a good one recently with the playoffs. But for it to be a rivalry, the other team's got to win every once in a while, right?
Hey, that's my big thing.
Celtics. So
hey, that's my big thing on rivalries, man. Hey, look, you can't call it a rivalry. Like that's like Padre fans calling the Dodgers rivalry. I'm like,
I mean, Cowboys Niners was a good one back in the day, but that's ended now, obviously.
So here's another good one. Week 10. going to Lambeau, dude. And the tush push guys were pushing this. What if they end it this week? Boomer doesn't think they're going to end it. So what if they end it? This is on November 10th, I believe. It's Monday Night Football. You get to go to Lambeau Field. It's Monday Night Football. It's the Eagles versus the Packers. Bro, you hope there's a little snow, and you got
Early
a little
November.
snow going on there. November
it's a little
10th.
early, but I mean, it is Green Bay, so it's going to be cold there. It's probably already cold there in May, but yeah, I'm excited for that game, man. I mean, that's going to be great. Doesn't that bode well for the Eagles too? Running team going into Lambeau in November. I mean, I think
running
that's perfect.
football team going in there
perfect.
Against a team that's got to show that they can stop the run. That's a great.
You know what? I might make a prediction right now, and I've been feeling this about this Packers team. And I've kind of teased it how I've been waiting for them to take that jump, and they didn't take it at all. And at least I don't think they've taken it. I think they could be a team that falls off this year. Not falls off. I'm not talking about 5 wins. I'm talking about, if the Bears can piece together 9-10 wins this year, which I think they could. Now you're going to make fun of me because you already made fun of me for getting in debate.
I happen to agree with you
about the Bears, but I don't know if Jordan Love is man.
They're too streaky.
Streaky, but man, last year he looked awful, dude.
Yeah, but dude, he goes like, all of a sudden, man, that guy will play 4 games. You go, wow. Then he'll play 4 games, or you went, damn. I mean, I thought he was better than that. And you know what they look like to me? They look like a 500 team.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Hanging around the rim.
I don't care if you're the most talented man on planet Earth. If you can't bring it to me on a consistent basis, then I can't build my team around that. That's one of the things I love the most about Jalen Hurts is that even when he's not on his best, you know that he has always showed to make a play when it matters. Doesn't matter how bad he's doing. So I love that from Jalen Hurts' perspective. I do not like streaky players, dude. I do. That's why I don't like Darnold. It's why I don't like Dak Prescott, because he gets to the playoffs and is streaky as hell. Jordan Love is also proven to be the same thing. So, yeah, I'm out on the I'm kind of out on the Packers right now. I think they could fall down this year.
Week 13, Bears on Prime Video here. Here, man, Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Roma Adanzu, the kid from Washington. Then they added Tune. They added Jonah Jackson. And by the way, I love John, but many of these guys were salary cap hits. And they were also because they had to get rid of – they were cap casualties. I think they've gotten better. They added the kid Colston Loveland at tight end. That seems to be a big tight end division, doesn't it, the NFC North? Yeah. They've got some pretty good tight ends in that division up there.
No doubt.
Then you turn around and look at their defense. Montez Sweat, they got him from Washington. Actually gave him an extension last year during the year. TJ Edwards, whatever you want to say, that contract has worked. He has been a really good football player for them. Tremaine Edmonds has been good. I like their secondary. I'm going to make a prediction to you here, man. I bet that team finishes second in the NFC North.
There you go. It's kind of where I just went. Wait a second. Did you start this segment off by saying I loved Ryan Poles, and now you're fucking agreeing?
The way you were talking, you were pimping Ryan Poles.
No, John was just acting like the team was a total trash can. I'm like, dude, the Bears, give him a chance.
I don't think Ryan Poles has done that bad a job, but he's going to see. John looks at the now record, and he's not looking at where the mess was. The mess, they had a mess there, man. The previous general manager couldn't get out of his own way.
Well, I mean, John also said this morning on Birds 365, and anybody can go and listen to it if they would like, that basically he could build a roster better than every NFL team out there. Right? He could GM, he could coach, he could quarterback, he could defensive coordinator. John could do it all. So, you got to take what he says with a grain of salt. I love him, and I appreciate his confidence and everything like that. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to agree with him on everything.
How about this here? Could you work ever like this? Yeah, I'd really like this player. All of a sudden, the general manager comes in and goes, let me get back to you on that player, and I got to check out the money. Well, we need that player. I want that player on my team. I'll get back to you. He comes back and he goes, how about can we take this player here instead? Well, he's not quite the player I need. Well, he fits into our cap more. So I've got to take a lesser player from my roster. Okay. So you just right there compromise because the general manager. Or how about this one? I want to hire this coach. Owner comes in and goes, I'm not sure he fits my culture and what I'm looking at. And so you're sitting here as a coach going like this, Zander. So I have to answer to the GM. I have to answer to the owner. How do you get shit done?
It's true.
Okay? This is where Howie has a carte blanche, credit card. He doesn't really have – the owner trusts him to do the things the owner wants.
Yeah, and Howie's earned some of that slack as well.
Yeah,
but again, John was crushing polls for the draft pick of passing on Carter, and I'm like, if you judged Howie and when it was an incomplete resume on draft picks and the year was 2020, you would say he was one of the worst GMs in football, for crying out loud. I mean, the guy couldn't draft for shit.
Justin Jefferson, he missed on him.
Let it breathe a little bit. It's fun. By the way, it's the other thing I think about all the time. And I know my boy Kill has been saying in the chat. I can't for the life, man. And this isn't exclusive to you. Why people grade Jalen Hurts like he's got a 15-year career? This is a 4-year player. He's an incomplete product, and he's shown you so many positive things in those 4 years. I feel the same about Sirianni. I feel the same about Hurts. And, it bothers me that people talk about these players like, the story's been written. It's not. It hasn't been written at all. Like, and to your point, did Jalen win with a great team? Yes. But he's got a long way to go. Like, what's the team going to look like? We've been bashing the defense. You have at least all off season. What if they go back and win with the 15th overall defense? Like, let's see how it plays out. I think people got to give a little bit more space to let these careers form. Like, Dak Prescott's got 10, 11 years starting. All right. That's a little bit of a bigger body of work there. So, but
here's my problem. Here's my problem with Hurts is that every year he's been a starting quarterback, it's been a different version of him. 21, 22, 23, and 24. You had a year in 24 where he compromised and did the right thing, and they ran the ball. Wasn't as needed during the entire regular season, and really, for that matter, the first playoff game, you really didn't need him. And in 23, they tried to throw the ball. There was too many turnovers on the offensive side of the football. 22, he was as complete as you can be. And 21, he was a young kid learning how to start as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's been 4 different Jalen Hurtses. They've been up.
Do you view that as a negative?
No, I view that as I don't see any consistency yet. Like, I know Mahomes is that guy every year. I see the same dude.
Yeah, but he does it differently as well.
He does it because of the personnel around him differently.
Right, I agree.
Hurts has the same personnel since 22.
That's not really true. He was a different quarterback from 22 to 24. Because why?
2022, the only guy that you've added has been Barkley.
But that
okay.
I know it's only one guy, but that's a pretty big guy.
But they added Barkley. He's the only guy since 22 that they've added. And what did they do when they added it? They subtracted from his and in the game plan.
I see this a little different than you. I understand what you're saying in that it hasn't been consistent. So there's an element of you don't know what you're going to get, right? Like it's looked different. So I understand where they're coming from with that. But again, I go back to the comment I just made about he's a 4-year starter. He showed me that in 22 he could win if he needed to pass. He showed me in 23 that an upper, whatever you learned from 23. In 24, he won, in the way that he won. I kind of view it like Jalen, as he's assembling himself in the league, is winning in every way. There's only so many different ways that you can do it now. Now he's building up a foundation that spreads much wider than somebody who can only win it one certain way.
I think they're different because they've been 4 different coordinators.
Well, the offense has been largely the same.
Not the approach. The approach changed drastically after week 4. The approach completely changed the prior 2 years. Dude, they enhanced the RPOs more after week 4 even.
No, they did. I mean,
there
they
were 4 different voices in his ear after that. So, I mean, look at this. 22, you had Steichen. 23, you had Johnson. 24, you had Kellen. So you're going to get a different version of him each and every single year. Last year, Hurts did not carry the mail for 20 weeks or for 19 weeks of that team. It was the running game that carried it. And by the way, Boomer's right. He's part of that. Okay, I'm not a big part. I'm not, and so was AJ part of.
No, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, he didn't put the team on his back and say, get on me, I'll take you home.
Wouldn't you think that was a philosophical change in direction from 23 and even the first 4 games of the year when they got to the bye? That was a change in the approach.
Yeah.
So my point is, how can you be? And on top of that, last year was the first year he learned how to set protections.
Which is a huge thing. But
now he got better towards the playoffs, and no sacks went down.
I understand where you're coming from, where you can say, look, they took that ball out of Jalen's hands and put it into Saquon's, and that's where they had success. But you have to factor in the context that preceded that. All right. In 22, the team won, I believe it was 14 games, if I'm not mistaken. They were 14-3 that year. They were obviously 3-1 in the postseason, or 2-1 in the postseason as well. So he was, 16-4, whatever it was that year. And then you started last year 10-1. So you remember back before the collapse of 23, everybody was posting on social media, look at the Eagles' last 35 games. They're like 30-2 or whatever the heck it was, So that preceded the collapse of 23. In 24, you tried to pick back up and get back on the rails, and they tried to do it like they did in 23 or 22 and 23, and it didn't work early. So they defaulted and went backwards and said, let's make this more simple. Let's run the ball, and let's find our rhythm that way. It worked so well that they never had to change anything. Now, you can view it as a knock on Jalen Hurts, or you can view it as the team had to evolve because the defenses in the NFL caught up to what they were doing. And then they went through, and remember, as you pointed out, Jason Kelce retired. Jalen had to take on a new role at the line of scrimmage as compared to what he did his first couple of years. And then you might have taken a couple steps back, but did you do that to take another big step forward? Right. And I think you could look at it like that as well. And because you had Barkley, because you had that offensive line, it worked better than it would have on 30 other teams outside of the Ravens, maybe, who had Derrick Henry and ran for 1,900 yards, So I hear where you're going with that. But my point with this is I want to give Jalen a little bit more time. And I know people will say he's been starting for 5 years, but I've seen a lot of incredible things from Jalen Hurts. And I think you would say the same. I think everybody would say the same. In moments, Jalen has wowed everybody. Now, is he the most consistent? No. Does he have the biggest arm? No. But he's proven time and time again that no matter what way you have to do it, he'll find a way to win. He's not perfect. He doesn't do it every single time. 23 was obviously not great, but I think with what he learned through the year last year, and now combining that with what they obviously have with the running game, I think you have a chance for it to be a really special season. Now, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe Jalen falls on his face. I don't think so. I think the kid is in a really good spot, and I can't wait to see what the next 4 years look like.
I don't think he's going to ever fall on his face. I think the team around him will fall on their face and will drag him with him if it does. And I don't know why that would be unless the defense doesn't step up. There's more turnover. The team fell on its face in 23.
It did, but that was again, that was not.
And so
Jalen deserves a lot of blame for that. When you're the head of the snake, you get the credit when things go well, like you just raised the MVP trophy, and you get the blame when things go bad. But I will say that was a collapse of epic proportions. I mean, you're not talking about just offense. It was Jalen. Remember how bad he was? He started turning the ball over. He had the fumble and the safety in the playoffs that year. The defense was the legitimate worst defense in the NFL. So that was kind of like an organizational collapse that I agree Hurts deserves blame for, but I can't put the entirety of that on his shoulders. And I think, all the other moments outside of that, he's been pretty damn good, man. So I hear where you're coming from, but I do think Jalen has a chance to really even take another big step forward this year and be a really, really great quarterback, because I think he did his best progression reading in the last game of the year last year versus last two games. Right.
That's 2 games. It's just being reported now that Trey Hendrickson has no intention of playing for the Bengals this year. He's sitting out and he's holding out. He's not reporting.
Well, they're jerking him around. Are they going to trade him?
I know. And I think, again, it's very Cincinnati-ish. Would that be a player that would you send some assets, some of the younger players, or a player for him. He had 17 and a half sacks. Now, again, here's why deals got to be more for me, and why I would say this to you. If Duke Tobin calls Howie Roseman and says, "Hey, how'd you like to make a trade here?" I'd be this. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a second and a third for the guy. That's it. And if they want a first rounder, I would go, why would I want to give you a first rounder up?
I'm definitely not giving a first rounder.
Here. Why would I give you a first rounder up when I won the Super Bowl without a dominant edge?
Right. Now,
and I don't personally think he's a dominant edge.
He is, but I'm gonna make an emphatic no on this, okay? Because we've talked about the defensive changes that this team has went through, and we also talked about what made them so great last year. And you are in a situation right now where you're cap crunching. You got to prioritize certain players and let other guys walk as they did. Right? Do we really need to spend? Remember why he's in this situation in the first place? He wants to make $30+ million. He wants to make 30, 35 to $40 million.
35.
Right. So even if it's a third rounder, I'm like, third rounder, yeah, sounds great, but I got to give up $35 million for what? How many years? 2-3 years?
Well,
like, I don't think I can make that move with where this team is.
Take the Brian Burns deal, a second, a third, and 25 north of 25 million. That's what it would cost you.
Yeah, I'm
probably a little north of that now.
I don't think that's the right move for this specific team. And that's not a knock on Trey Hendrickson, the player. That's identifying. I don't think this team, right. Well, I think he'd be great here. I'll say that. I think he'd be great. But I don't think you want to spend. He'd be great. But is that the money you want to spend? Like, does that get you closer to the bowl, or does, taking that money and building back up the things that made the deal, like to your point, the secondary was so good last year. That's our biggest risk, right? You're coming in with Ringo and Makuba. If those guys can't play, that defense is going to struggle much more so than it did last year. So I just don't think it's the right move for this team.
I gotta tell you, man, I think you're right. Even though I think the player would look pretty good. And
Kelly's exceptional, man.
I mean, he had a really.
If you get 17 and a half sacks in the NFL, you're a fucking player. That's a lot of sacks.
Absolutely. Last couple ones here for you. What'd you make of the NBA lottery last night?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. They send the kid
crazy for anybody
to Los Angeles. They send a guy to LA.
Yeah, I mean,
out of nowhere, the Dallas Mavericks get the old number 1.8 chance of winning that thing.
I know. And John's like, yeah, anybody that's a conspiracy is dumb. I'm like, really? I don't know. That looks a little fishy to me, But I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. The Sixers get the 3rd overall pick. In my opinion, as much as I like Ace Bailey and the other Rutgers kid, I don't think they're franchise altering players. I think there was only one of those guys in this draft, and that's Cooper Flagg, and you missed out on him. So if I were the Sixers and they believe their window's still open, yeah, I don't think it is. I think you got to close the window.
Would you trade Embiid to Dallas for the number 1 overall pick? Number 1 overall pick for Flagg?
They're not going to do that. In a perfect world, that makes a lot of sense. Give them 3 and Embiid and move to 1. But why would Dallas do that? Now you're going to have Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis with ball-dominant Kyrie Irving. That'd be a good fit. But what's your window? 1 year, 2 years? Or you draft Cooper Flagg with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Now you got a forward, you got a big man, and you got a point guard. Dallas is not doing that. That's a bad move for Dallas. So that's not going to happen. I think you got to get rid of Embiid at this point, man. What are they doing with this guy?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, dude, the 3rd pick in the draft, where they're hurt. I mean, where are you going here with this, man? I mean, I don't see it. I mean, you're just kind of like sitting in the toilet bowl again, spinning around, not going anywhere. You got to do something here, and I don't know. I don't really see anything happening here. By the way, I'm going.
Wait, do you think it was rigged for Dallas?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I think it was.
Patrick Ewing goes to he's from New York. He goes to the Knicks. Okay. LeBron goes to Cleveland.
Derrick Rose to the Bulls. Yeah. LeBron's
okay. And then after the trade, but here, why Dallas? Are you trying to give Dallas ammo so teams will move up, and a big market team would go and get a guy and try to get Cooper Flagg? I mean, Can you imagine?
But this is where I disagree with John completely, because he's like, Luka Doncic isn't the prize, it's Cooper Flag. And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, I can say what I want about Cooper Flag is a fucking draft pick. You have no idea what that player is going to be in the NBA. You have no clue what he's going to be. You
guy's a Hall of Famer.
Stars of the NBA to the Lakers. And I think they got assurances. I do. I mean, because at the end of the day, that move made no sense. And anybody with a brain knew that Nico Harrison, I mean, as dumb as you might think he is, he's not that dumb to trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. I mean, that was a ridiculous trade. It made zero sense. But now that the trade is complete, it makes a lot more sense. You're like, okay, they made a deal. They made the Lakers a prime time to try and boost ratings. And
I sent a text to Mark Cuban. Mark doesn't own the team anymore. And I go, dude. He goes, radio silence. He wrote radio silence. I went, all right. I love, hey, man, I'll tell you what, John's really doing a great job on your show. He's like, hey, man, at Rutgers, how come nobody's going to the playoffs? I go, John, you guys drafted Ben Simmons. He didn't take LSU to the playoffs. They never went that year. You took him number 1 overall.
Well, that was his point. What the fuck did he do in the league?
Dude, if you these guys from Rutgers are not going to make any impact.
Yeah, well, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, now you're a third. Look, I can't really talk about the Sixers right now because I grew up the biggest Sixers fan. They were my favorite team when I was a kid. That's where I went. Like, I went one year. I got Christmas morning. We woke up, and at the bottom of the steps was Sixers tickets for Christmas Day game. Like me and my family went to the game on Christmas Day. Like I was.
His dad called Embiid a stiff, though.
Yeah, my dad hated Embiid. My dad hated Embiid back when he was drafted. He hated the process. He hated everything about it, and he was right. He used to tell me when I was younger, and I used to fight with him about it. He would say, "You watch Dallas," and this is at the time when they had who's the GM they had before Brad Stevens? Why am I blanking on his name? Fuck, he was incredible. White hair.
Danny Ainge.
Yes, Danny Ainge. He said, you watch. Danny Ainge will rebuild the Celtics. They'll go back to the playoffs, and they'll win a ring before you guys even do shit. And he was exactly 100% right, and I was wrong on the whole process. So, but I get upset because are you going to let Daryl Morey control? We have now the 3rd overall pick. All right, you got old, expiring players that are like literally way past their prime. And now you're going to rebuild this thing with the same dude? Wait a second. The same dude that got rid of all of the players that made you good and put you into this position for you to even get a 3rd overall pick. You're going to let that guy rebuild it? Why? Why?
It'd be like Joe Schoen rebuilding the Giants.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So like I'm really pissed about it, but I'm trying to revive my fandom just because I love basketball, man. I like basketball. It was tough to watch last night, that Tatum injury.
I know the Tatum injury, man. Did they get any word back on the MRI?
No, but that looked bad, bro. That looked
Dude,
bad.
that may affect them going into next year. Okay,
that's a late injury, man. Late in the year. We're in May. Yeah, that's
like
a
that,
late
an injury like that down there. Okay,
and they're done, by the way. Knicks are going to go, man. I think the Knicks have a chance to win it.
First time in 25 years the Knicks will be in a conference championship. Man. All right, final one here. This is it. So,
he already had surgery. Drozone said ruptured Achilles.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
No way will he be ready.
Shady's bringing up my Phillies. He's a big Phillies fan. Shady, they're rocking and rolling right now, brother. I think they look pretty damn good. And I'll say this about the Phillies. It's a long season, so you always got to buckle in and allow baseball to happen. But if that team, Shady, gets hot at the right time, and when I say hot, I don't mean the bats. The bats are obviously important, but I'm talking about those arms. Because while they're a bit streaky, they got a lot of arms. They got Luzardo, Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Suarez, all these dudes. And if you can get them to play well in the playoffs and Romano can start to pitch, now he's been a lot better recently, Jordan Romano in the bullpen, I think that team has a chance to compete in the playoffs, but it's got to come together at the right time.
Same old Phillies.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, well, you know what? I mean, I don't want them playing their best.
Well, so much of me wants to believe that Bryce Harper is different, that he's going to eventually make it happen.
All I could say is I don't care about them playing great in May.
I don't either. But when you've watched the team for several years, you can kind of piece together some of the same problems or non-problems that they have. Yeah.
All right. So here, I got a question for you. So Howie Roseman is now the MVP of Philly, and Saquon Barkley's now he's like going to the Met Gala, and you got Hurts at the Met Gala. He's the man time of the year. I mean,
The
surely
Los Angeles Eagles.
I mean, surely, or the New York Eagles.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
that's
hey,
better.
you guys are doing
I don't
very.
know. New Yorkers are a little bit more gritty, you know.
Yeah,
Jalen's
but
got that prima donna
okay,
LA
right.
look.
Red carpet. I got you. All right.
Jalen's got that red carpet LA in him.
So you guys, is this very un-Philly like? You guys going to Met Galas and hanging out with presidents and like, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ. You, now Howie Roseman's got the key, the city keys, like the MVP.
Well, listen, we just talked about a little bit ago how
Isn't that distractions?
Texas boy, you missed a great conversation about the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry. I would have liked it if you were here to check and weigh in on it, but that's all right. Look, we just talked about how the Eagles never had won. You know, as much as we like to believe that we were a top dog, we had never won. And now when you start to win, when you put together multiple years of success like this, yeah, you get some of these accolades where you get to hang out with Obama and Trump and Air Force One and all these different Met galas and gala. I like how you call it the gala. Look, it's a little weird. I don't care for it. I've never been involved. I've never been into that stuff. I've always wondered, you know, I agree. I think this about sports too, by the way, but I've always wondered why people give so much a shit about celebrities. Like, why do you care about other people's lives so much? Even sports. I mean, you know, we care about these athletes so much, but no, I don't really care. It is weird though. It's definitely not like Philly
Because they're TV stars now.
Yeah, well, we just talked about it. The big
ratings.
business, right?
Yeah, the ratings. These are not football players anymore, dude.
Yeah, true.
They're TV stars.
That's a good point.
I mean, right? I mean, you're no longer just a guy any longer who shows up on a Sunday, man. So you don't think there's too many distractions?
What, more than last year?
Oh yeah, you won it this year.
I think it's something to watch for.
Huh?
I mean, look, and I say that because you know you got a much shorter offseason.
So it's a thing.
I mean, Jalen Hurts, you know, his season was over January last year. This year it was February 12th. He won the bowl, and he was freaking flying around the whole country until March, right. And then he had multiple events then. So you know, he kind of never got as much of a break this summer. He got married and some of those things. Which congratulations to Jalen Hurts. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think it's something to watch for. But you know, do you call it that? Well, you just call it Super Bowl hangover. You know, how do you gauge that? Remember, they're playing a great schedule. They are. They're becoming America's team. So
hang on, Texas boy. Question for you: are the Eagles now America's team? I heard the Eagles are going to have baby oil in the locker room for September 4th season opener.
Remember, we are the Eagle. Like the Eagle is the bird of America.
The greatest opening for a game is in Philadelphia, PA, with that fucking bird flying in.
I love
the way that thing rolls in, that bald eagle, dude. That's the best opening to a football
yesterday
or sports thing I've ever seen in my life. Is that eagle rolling in from the top of that stadium?
Yeah. I got to run here because I want to post up your boomer thing before your show ends. But
right,
I'll say this: the NFL put out the first 4 games that were released yesterday.
I love them.
The Eagles were 3 of them, dude.
Dude, and they got the Commanders too.
Yeah, and now they've released 4. Like the Eagles are, bro. The NFL is promoting the Eagles more than I've ever seen in my life.
I've never seen it before.
So I mean, the Eagles are. Yo, Texas boy, y'all better start winning some football games, Texas boy. Come on, man. The Eagles are taking over, man. I think you might be right, Sills. Wait, that's happened under who? The greatness of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Now you can hate, you can find narratives, you can create talking points for
George Seifert.
You can do all the big Sills things, but facts are facts.
George Seifert, Sirianni. All right, kid.
Call them what you want. As long as we're winning games, I don't give a shit.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you, man. Don't forget to check out. Do we get any supers?
A-Team says, what up, A-Team? How is it not a conspiracy? The WNBA Dallas team also got the first overall pick. Sixers need a clean house, and Embiid's career is cut short because of injury. And Embiid, Dallas, get the wrong mentality, get the wrong mindset. He's got a lot more problems than just the injuries. I'll say that.
Why Dallas, though, if you're going to do that? I mean,
Connor says, well, because they had Luka. Connor said, Connor becomes a member. Connor, thank you, bro. I appreciate that very much, man. Those go a long way in helping us. Thank you, bro. Kokorski says, me personally, I'm trading for an experienced cornerback. I agree. Over Trey?
Yep. Or I'm going to sign an experienced safety. The team doesn't need an edge. You guys don't need an edge.
No, I agree, especially not a $30 million one. Prince says, can we review the schedule as we did last year to analyze the win-loss record? Prince, that's Thursday, bro. After the schedule comes out, we'll do that.
We'll do that.
Well, you know, Prince, it's called win-loss, man. You go down the schedule, you go win-loss, win-loss, win-loss.
You know how I look at it, Zander? I look at it coaching, roster, and because it's hard to predict wins in this, but I look at really good organizations and strength of schedule. See, John,
you know what I call it? It's like, where's Waldo? So where's the loss for the Eagles? Because there's so few of them.
Yeah, with that Lindbergh cheese defense.
Lindbergh cheese, my ass. You said the same thing.
Yeah, we'll see.
Keely Ringo. Since Sills was at Miami. That's a long time, man.
Dude, he has, man. Get this. I tell you, Abe, I told you this before. He recruited me in high school when he was at Milford Academy. Vic Fangio offered me a scholarship to play at Milford Academy. By the way, you want to hear this? The Eagles have 3 players from Milford Academy on the team right now.
Here's Abe. Abe says, Montana once said no leader hasn't persevered. Winston Churchill, JFK, Steve Wilson. You don't know who Steve Wilson is? Well, that's because he quit. LOL.
Okay.
I don't even really know what Abe's going for here. Let me look up Steve Wilson.
Yeah, I've never heard of Steve Wilson.
That's his point.
Yeah, who's Steve Wilson?
That's his point, is that don't quit.
Oh, okay.
That's why you don't know who Steve Wilson is.
Montana. Yeah, okay. Well, this
Abe, I think it went over his head, bro.
Oh, completely. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Abe said, I got it. Was that the one you were talking about, Abe?
Yeah.
Don't quit. Exactly. I got you. Abe, I got you, bro. I got you, Abe. I won't let you down, Abe.
Hold on, Abe. You went around a long way to get that one home, homie.
Delivered that in a way better method, brother.
Holy shit, man. I didn't know what he was talking about. Holy
no, so you all right? You're reeling a little bit. The chat got in your head today, dude.
No, that is not true. Yeah.
Yo, right. Prince, come on, man. It's May. Take it easy on Big Silver.
Hold on.
All right, man.
Hold on. Whoa.
Prince is going a little hard. Prince, Crowley, A-Team, Abe, Flexen, Sue, they're going hard on you.
He's pumping you guys up. You guys are dog shit.
You guys
get
guy.
dog shit.
He gets off the air. He's a sensitive guy. He's much more sensitive than you think.
Maybe so. My cat died.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Did it?
Oh, man. Yeah, we had to put him to sleep.
No, I hate that. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know that. I thought you were joking. That stinks. I'm sorry, bro. I lost my dog a little bit ago.
14 years. Well,
I was not ready for how bad losing my animal.
Hey, let me tell you this, man. We have we had rescue dogs. We have a rescue dog. We have rescue cats. We rescue animals. And my wife found this cat in Orlando about 14 years ago. And, she's had cancer for a while, but she's lived through it. She's really did great. And then, yesterday was not good. It was like,
I'm sorry, bro.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't have very many friends, so my animals are my friends.
I know. Okay. Believe me, I understand you on that more than you know.
Yeah, man. That was brutal last night. So we wake up, my wife looks at me and goes, "Catch that, damn it." And I'm going,
okay, I was making fun of you, and then you pull out my cat died, and now I feel like a total asshole. Is that what you wanted to do, Sills? You made me feel like a dick.
No, it's not. But by the way, I got your thing at the end. I made it seem like yesterday when
I knew you just clicked.
Yeah,
I was just saying condolences. Yeah. So all
right,
brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Zander. You guys. Hey, by the way, folks, they're doing such a great job on that show on Birds 365. Keep up the great work, Zander.
Congratulations to you, Sileo, for this. You get to cover the face of the NFL. Think about how cool that is, brother. Thank you so much, man. I'll see you.
He's just a jackass. I get to cover the face of the NFL, Saquon Barkley. You bet, man. I am all over that. Covering Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Oh, my God, Shady. Shady, this house is all about loving animals. Okay? Absolutely, man. Twiz, it's all good, kid. Don't worry about it. By the way, my good friends, Morgan & Morgan, make sure you check them out, folks. Their track record is second to none. The number one injury law firm in all of America is Morgan & Morgan. Family in Pennsylvania won a settlement for $30 million because the team of thousands of attorneys from coast to coast make sure families like yours are protected and making sure families like yours get the best legal advice when you go into any one of these cases. Folks, the one reason that Morgan & Morgan is number one is because they win. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got in.